WROCAM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence here from the High Fall Studios in downtown Rochester, where the sun is out. We have a great day to talk sports with you. 585-866-4326. That is our phone number, presented by Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. You can also reach us by social media. Our preferred method probably is the X account at WGR Rochester, 95.7 FM, AM 950, always streaming for free inside the Odyssey app. We are on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider, our fine producer, and for the first time since we actually moved to this time slot, the whole band is back together. We welcome back from the month-long vacation Dan DeLorean, Dan Drummy, the pride of Hilton, our fine producer, who normally doesn't go on camera, normally doesn't like to talk on the mic, but I'm like, dude, you've got to come back. That is the price you pay for taking. It was a little bit of an exaggeration. You weren't here, off for a full month, but last time you were here, the Bills hadn't played in the new stadium. They were still at St. John Fisher University at that point. All the stuff that's happened. Dan, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
All right. So first thing, I expected you to come back with beard, scraggly. You're all clean shaven, so there goes that.
I wanted to, and I really didn't grow that big. I mean, it would take me forever to do what Tim has. So, fresh start. Let's go.
Fresh start. Well, welcome back, buddy.
Thank
and I also want to call you out on something.
I want to reboot it. I can reboot it, actually. Go ahead.
So you know what I'm going to say?
I do.
How do you know?
Because I went back and listened to the first show on the 10th, and I can assure you that if leading up to the last week I was here, you asked me. You said,
no. Okay. Let me set this up, and I'm going to call BS twice here.
Go ahead.
Like you listened back in the 10th.
Go ahead.
You were probably Tim. He was up in the mountains. He's like, I miss these guys. I'm going to listen in. I want to hear everything today, Tim. Right? He's
so
listening
wrong.
on vacation.
So wrong.
He's listening on vacation. So before Dan goes, right? And I respect this. I have to respect this. He's like, yeah, I'm going to the Adirondacks, and yeah, basically the cell phone reception isn't great there. But don't worry, I turn my phone off. Like, wow. All right, Dan, look, if there's a piece of audio we're missing, I won't bother you. Point well taken. And I was just kind of admiring the fact that, wouldn't that be glorious? Everybody should try that. How long could you actually go without your phone being on? Well, in the case of Dan DeLorean, let's just say you left on Saturday. You went maybe 24 hours because here I was. This is how far back this goes, Tim. This is the weekend where I went down to Pittsburgh with my son, and the Mets are playing. The Mets suck. I don't have any delusions about them, right? But you know what? Life is short, and let's go cross a stadium off our list we haven't been to, and it's pretty close by, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a great stadium, great fan base. And it just so happens that my phone blows up. During the seventh inning stretch, we were on TV, which, hey, as a fan, and I do this for a living, it's kind of exciting. And I'm getting messages like, hey, you're on SNY. That's really cool. And people are capturing the screenshots. So what do I do as, the stupid Met fan I am? Hey, everybody, I was on SNY. I put it up on social media. And who liked the post?
I did.
I thought you were supposed to have your phone off, buddy.
So let me respond to you. You asked me the week leading up to when I left, so that last week, which was 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever, that weekend. You said, are you leaving on Monday the 10th? And I said, yes.
Oh.
So I left on Monday the 10th, and I can show you my phone, my screen data. So I can show you that it has, I left on the 10th at 12:45.
All right.
And all of last week is 0.
All right. See, I'm in the cottage mindset where rentals sometimes are this Saturday or whatever. So you literally.
I left on Monday the 10th. I turned my phone off at 12:45. I turned it back on yesterday at 1 p.m.
That's wild.
You're kidding.
So technically, it was 15 days without my phone.
All right. I apologize.
That's incredible.
Dan, I apologize. But that doesn't leave. So literally, you went back to the last show.
I checked it yesterday because I wanted to see what you were saying about me.
You came in guns a-blazing.
I'm ready.
You just shot me down.
Yes, I was ready from the get-go.
You were ready. All right, Dan. Well, welcome back, buddy.
Thank you for having me,
Let's see,
guys.
some things haven't changed. The Mets are still
Playing
although last night,
the big win last night.
big win, and I was watching that, and it went all full Sopranos.
Yeah.
At the biggest moment defensively of the season, bases loaded for the top team in the majors, the Milwaukee Brewers. They just tied it up in the ninth, and there is an opposite field hit that and it goes dark. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm thinking it's my streaming service.
Nope.
And then I realize, what did the truck get so excited? Somebody kicked out the cable or
someone
something?
pulled the plug.
Somebody pulled the plug, and then you come back, and there's, Gary Cohen, like, oh, okay. Guess he caught the ball.
Yeah.
So a funny moment in a season that hasn't had great moments. Dan, you're welcome. I know you like to work across the hallway, so I leave it up to you where you want to be today.
How about I hang out here today?
Okay, you're going to hang out here. We'll
He's
see
back.
how long he's back.
All the way back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan DeLorean, our fine producer. You can reach us at and I thought I had him. I've been holding on to that.
You've been waiting 17 days.
17 days for that. Like, oh yeah, I turned my phone off, and not only that, he's showing me his data. Like he literally did that. I'm blown away. I'm speechless. In a job where I can't be speechless.
I don't think I can go 5 hours without my phone.
I couldn't go 5 minutes. It's pathetic. I was going to save this for later, but there's because you know what's going to come into our lives this Saturday? College football. Oh, college football is sort of. I mean, we're going to just, oh my gosh, it's North Carolina, TCU. Yum, 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 yum from Ireland. Well, ESPN is making a tweak this year in their college football programming. They're getting rid of the quote-unquote bottom line. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No one is watching the bottom line, waiting for the scroll of the final that happened an hour ago. It doesn't work that way anymore. Same thing of, hey, make sure you tune into the news to make sure your school is closed. No one does that. You get the auto call from the school.
Having to wait in alphabetical order.
No,
as it
that's
by.
yeah, and the same thing with scrolling while you're watching sports. It's nothing more than an ad placer, basically, brought to you by blah blah. And the thing that drives me nuts, Tim, is, hey, we're going to scroll. Breaking news! Breaking news! That thing we told you about 3 hours ago, it's still breaking news. All right, so let me just get rid of all that. Like, same thing with NFL scores, like the ones that I think CBS still does that, rotating the scores through. Stop. We have our phone. We look at our phone. We look at, particularly the NFL, we look at our fantasy team. You're completely wired. To the point where I have to train myself, stop looking at your phone, enjoy the game that you're watching in front of you. I'm an addict, Tim.
There with you.
Yeah, Dan Drummy is not. Dr. Charlie Schumann will join us. He's from Lattimore Physical Therapy. Well, we have all these injuries for the Buffalo Bills, and Connor McGovern, Khalil Shakir, hey, there's Keon Coleman running yesterday. What does that mean? We'll talk to Charlie Schumann. There's also an awful story out of college hockey that I think that if we just apply it here to Section 5 and youth sports and everything, it's a story that you should know about when it comes to safety. And people are asking questions out there, and we'll get to that as well. 585-866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. Good Smoke, bbq.com. The table is set. So the Bills had their walkthrough today. They will be on the field tomorrow night taking on the Steelers. And I think we're still at that, if you're going out tomorrow night, Are you really going out for the football, or are you going out for the football, but, man, I want to check out this stadium, and then you'll walk around, you'll get all the points. We're going to be at that. Just enjoy the stadium and, try not to get dragged down in the negativity of some things, right? So my suggestion, though, is that if you're going tomorrow night and you have the ability to, just leave a little earlier, because you do hit that Buffalo rush hour traffic, and the traffic patterns going to the stadium are just ever so slightly different. The one thing I don't understand is you have all that parking available at the old stadium site that they're not making available, and maybe it's a staffing issue. I don't know what it is, but to me, you could use that a little bit more. So just give yourself a little extra time on that tomorrow, because I don't think, remember the days where, hey, final preseason game, it's the Bills and the Lions. Welcome, I'm John Murphy. No, those are over. Like where you would get lucky to get 30,000 people in the stands when a meaningless preseason game. This game is meaningless in terms of who wins, who loses, who's on the field in that. Well, actually, that part isn't meaningless. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, and I welcome everybody's thoughts on this, because it is sort of uncomfortable talking about who's going to be on the team, who won't be on the team. And I think when you do this exercise, I've come to the conclusion that this roster right now is better than at any point the Bills had last year. Meaning last year, all right, you had starters, but what were the backups? And in my opinion on this, I reserve the right to change this, because we might get into the season and say, oh, my gosh, I can't believe they had to put Jalen Kilgore in. He's not ready for this. That could entirely change, right? But right now, when you're going through the exercise of how do you get to 53, there are going to be guys that will play elsewhere in the league this year. And I would put that number, like on the opening day, I'm saying, I'm going to put that number like a 3. Like players that were cut by Buffalo that will end up on other teams. It's a good sign. And, as any opinion, I could be wrong on this. So as we're going through this, I'm going to give you my roster. And then at the end of this, I'll tell you, okay, well, here's who didn't make it, and we can kind of debate this. And Tim, I take this in, and you let me know if I'm off the mark on this.
You got it.
Okay, so quarterback, pretty darn easy, right? Allen and Allen. Those are 2. There's no reason to keep 3 here. It'll be like a law firm, Allen and Allen. Remember the Allen Diggs signs that went up? Well, yeah. Allen and Allen will be your 2 quarterbacks. Running backs, this is and injuries are the murky thing here, right? That we don't have the full context of some of these injuries, and we don't know, like, which of these players won't be available week 1. And because of that, well, how does that impact you keeping a player on the roster week 1 when normally they wouldn't? And that brings me to the running back position. Obviously Cook, obviously Davis. What is the status for Ty Johnson? Ty Johnson, hamstring injury. That happened in the blue and red practice. That was August the 8th, when I learned today that Dandelion was still in town, and he just faced me on all that. Well, I would say that those would be the 3, but if we don't know if Ty Johnson is ready to go, or if it's going to be some sort of decision leading up to week 1, it would make sense to keep Frank Gore Jr. also on the roster. So in a little bit of a surprise, I've got Frank Gore Jr. Now, I said I would save all the cuts to the end, but obviously I didn't think any of us had Ian Wheeler making the 53, but what I would say is he is welcome on the practice squad. And unfortunately, that position, there's always injuries. So Wheeler might get a shot sooner or later, but I don't think he would get snared. Fullback position, you're keeping 1. And remember, Reggie Gilliam last year, the fullback for Buffalo, was exquisite. And I don't understand why the Bills decided to cheap out on that. Because him, for special teams, great. It was Ray Davis who returned the kickoff for a touchdown against the Houston Texans. It was Reggie Gilliam breaking up that wedge. So Ben Van Sumeren because of special teams, I have him making the roster in a little bit of a surprise. Wide receiver, I think it's clear. You've got Moore, Shakir, and Palmer, Coleman. Now, those 2 right now are like, I mean, even Palmer had fell on his wrist the wrong way. Trent Sherfield makes this team. He second tour of duty with Buffalo. He's a special teamer. He can play the gunner, and he can fill in at wide receiver. And Skylar Bell showed enough promise in the spring that if you expose him to waivers, expose him to waivers, I think that Skylar Bell would be scooped up. So I've got Moore, Shakir, Palmer, Coleman, Sherfield, and Skylar Bell. We'll get to the cuts in a second. Tight end, very simple. Kincaid, Knox, and Haas. Offensive line. Again, this is another area where, like, you tell me how healthy Connor McGovern is. I don't know. Deion Dawkins. We learned yesterday from Elena Gensenberg that Alec Anderson is your starting left guard. McGovern, Torrance, and Brown. Now, with the McGovern uncertainty, I've got Cushenberry making the team, Corbett, and then 2 tackles. And again, this is one where I could have this wrong, Grable and Lunt. And I'll give my reasoning here in a little bit on who didn't make it. Now, for the purpose of this, I understand that some of these guys, like Greg Rousseau, are called outside linebackers. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to lump them all in together on the defensive line. Pass rushers will put their hand down. Ready? Whether that's on the outside or the inside. I've got 11 of them. I've got Deion Walker, Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, Bradley Chubb, Michael Hoyt, both TJs, Parker and Sanders. Landon Jackson makes the team. That was somebody I'm like, nah, he's bulking up because they don't have any other options. No, I think he makes this team. Whether he's active or not week 1, that's a different story. And this is where I'm going back and forth. Do the Bills bring on a Mike Dana or do they keep a draft pick? I think they keep a draft pick, Javon Solomon. But they don't keep another draft pick. I'll get to this. I have Greg Gaines making the team. Matt Perino didn't agree with me on that yesterday. But Greg Gaines, I believe, they brought him in for a reason. He's got experience. And again, you have a player right now that's going to go on a 3-game suspension. So to me, that's your defensive line. Linebackers, I've only got 3. Bernard, Williams, Elam Zor. Yeah, we'll get to this in a second. Defensive backs. All right, another position with uncertainty. Benford and Bishop and C.J. Gardner-Johnson and IGB Hairston. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Matt Perino has the Bills cutting Kenai Walker. I have the Bills keeping Kenai Walker. DeMar Hamlin, Jalen Kilgore, D. Alford's been great. Jordan Hancock. Sam Franklin's on this roster because of his special teams and because of his contract. And then this is the caveat. I have corner not on current roster. I thought the message was pretty clear from defensive coordinator Jim Leonard this week that, hey, we just need a little bit more at that position. If there's somebody else, I could see the Bills importing a corner specifically because I don't know if you want to rely on Kenai Walker being corner 4 here from the get-go. He'll get a shot this year. So that would be the 53. Specialists, Bass, Wisnowski, and Reed Ferguson. This is who I have getting cut. Buffalo Joe. Joe Andreessen. Now, he's somebody you could go put on the practice squad and promote once or twice. So I think that maybe that's the time. Andreessen, certainly for special teams you could consider, but let's be honest. Like, that's a position right now that I don't know if they carry for. Geno Stone doesn't make this team. I'm sorry. You have other younger guys, and Stone, yes, he's had injuries. That's an issue. Cedric Van Pran Granger does not make this team. Now, I wrote this before we went on air, and I'm going to stick to it, but as we're getting on the air, the Bills put out that they signed some center named Sincere Hainsworth, releasing a wide receiver, Magdalena. Now, I didn't have Magdalena making the roster, and probably you don't know who Magdalena is, but if they're signing a center, what does that tell you? Ruh-roh about maybe not, but you're bringing in a center now? Why? And on top of that, there are a ton of draft picks, Tim. I don't have them making the team. Jude Bowery did not have a good camp. He doesn't make this team. Zane Durant, Toriano Pride at corner. He gets beat up by Kenai Walker, Tommy Doman, and Reed Adams, the 7th-round guard. I think he had a good camp. Not so. Also cut, by the way, former Chiefs. Mike Dana, Mecole Hardman doesn't make the team. So, Tim, I present my 53-man roster to you. What would you push back on?
There's 5 or 6 that I think you might have flip-flopped. It's really tough to break down based on positions, but you've got a solid roster with 60 capable players that should be on NFL rosters. So you said 3 players that are going to get cut and signed by other teams. I think it might be more than that. But it's tough to make that call. And for you to do it, I applaud you. I don't think that I could make those decisions at that, like the 50 to 55. Those final cuts are really tough.
They are tough.
And I'm surprised that you don't have Andreessen making the team, and that you essentially threw away the entire draft. Like the draft is a waste. That's really hard to rationalize too.
Yeah, that's it. Well, keeping Bowery right now, I don't know if he's earned that spot. So can you sneak these guys, Pride, Adams, those guys over to the practice squad? And again, any team can sign them at any point to their active roster.
And you've got Kenai Walker making the team, as do I. But he's been probably the surprise of camp.
Kenai Walker, I do think that if there's a team that needs a corner and hey, we're building for the future, boop, welcome. You're an Arizona Cardinal.
Doesn't make this team exactly. If he doesn't make this team, somebody is adding him to their 53. He's going to make an NFL roster, be it Buffalo or somebody else.
We took a call. I think it was Brad in Rochester who said, "Can the Bills trade Cedric Van Granger?" That might be the one where I'm like, knowing that the Bills signed a center today, are we concerned about Connor McGovern? Van Granger playing in the second half, and that's always the tell, too. Why watch the second half tomorrow night, folks? The answer's simple. See who's playing.
Right.
Honestly, you'll have some starters, and by starters, it could be just as simple as IGB. I think IGB is your starter week 1. Maxwell Hairston has not shown enough. You spent a second-round pick. Second-round picks start all the time in this league week 1. So let IGB go out there, and maybe he makes some Oh, by the way, it's the Texans passing offense. Ooh. You're not playing Mahomes or the Lions or the Chargers. Those challenges come down the road. This is C.J. Stroud. So, yeah, put the kid in there, and they're both kids at this point. So, if I had to predict on my prediction, do I have this right? No. I'm going to say probably I have 3 or 4 wrong. I'm just going off. And the main reason that is, okay, tell me about Ty Johnson's injury. Oh, he's fine. Okay, then Frank Gore Jr., I love you, but you're welcome back to the practice squad.
Yeah, Frank Gore is basically practice squad Hall of Famer. He's not an actual NFL player. He's a name.
Okay, he was in 2 postseason games, though. So and he saw it wasn't at the end of the roster. He actually came in. The Bills used him. It's the same offensive coordinator. So that's where I'm kind of going at. They've used him at the most important times of the season. We're over because we got to get to Dr. Charlie Schumann. Hey, about these injuries, we'll pick the brain of our resident medical expert from Lattimore Physical Therapy, Dr. Schumann, joining us next. You can join us, and you can tell me I'm wrong. 585-866-4326, our handle at WGR Rochester. I'm Gene Battaglia here on the Sports Bar.
Rochester. Sal Capaccio's Extra Point Show brings you inside the Bills locker room. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia hits you with sharp Bills, Sabres, and Amerks analysis. The Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Final preseason game tomorrow night for the Bills taking on the Steelers. No, Josh Allen will not be on the field, but Allen will be the play caller. Allen on his new assignment.
I'd like to think that I'm a pretty balanced play caller, but I feel like as a quarterback, you kind of know the plays that are the plays that you want to get to. I feel like those would come off the call sheet very early. So, explosive play caller.
We'll talk about some of these Bills injuries with Dr. Charlie Schumann, Lattimore Physical Therapy. He'll join us next year in the Sports Bar. Red Wings get a win today, 6-3 over Buffalo to tie up that series. On the Major League scoreboard, Rays over the Tigers 3-0. Everything else in progress. No score between the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. They head to the fourth. Reds trailing the Giants 2-1 in the second. Guardians trailing the Angels 1-0. They're also in the second. Phillies up in Seattle 2-0 in the second. Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
Rochester's home for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Coming up in 2 weeks as we head to the openers of the NFL, you get more information when it comes to injuries. But right now, as we're doing the projections, it's hard to say. All right, do the Bills have to keep Cedric Van Pran-Granger, for example, because we're not sure Connor McGovern will be ready week one, and maybe the Bills don't know that themselves as we welcome in Dr. Charlie Schumann, Lattimore Physical Therapy, former Penn State offensive lineman and former roommate of Connor McGovern. And look, Charlie, like anything whenever McGovern, let me just kind of say this. I want you to recuse yourself. I don't want you to get in trouble if you're talking to him or anything like that. I don't want to be the one that puts you in a bad spot here. So anything we discuss here about the Bills is just kind of general, right, as we kind of learn a little bit about this. And, as we've discussed, too, Joe Brady has been tight-lipped about regarding injury details, and that's fine. Now, for McGovern, this injury occurred August the 8th. That was the blue and the red practice. For a hamstring, what are the basic grades of a pull here as we try to figure out what would be the best-case scenario for McGovern and what would be the worst case for a return for Connor McGovern?
Yeah, Gene, well, I'm excited to be here once again today. My daughter and I are on our way back from Kid Strong, so we're in the car together, so we may have a little chime in. We'll see what she has to say about some of the injuries. But no, Connor and I keep it on the down low on talking injuries too much. So I can put an unbiased, unknowing take out there without getting in too much trouble. But hamstrings are very tough. They're very hit and miss. Different guys in different positions are going to have different return to sport timelines, especially for Connor being an offensive lineman. He doesn't have as much top-end speed requirement. Not that the hamstring isn't used in other avenues, but it gets a lot of stress with that top-end speed. So I know we're going to talk about Ty Johnson next as well. So those return to play for a Ty Johnson running back style guy versus a Connor McGovern being at center, being a little bit more enclosed in terms of space is going to look very different.
Yeah, I guess, and it's just kind of the twitchy nature of you're exploding off a line. And for Ty Johnson, hey, and he was kind of you've seen him around, but we haven't seen him back on the field. So you do have to be more cautious then with a skill position player when it comes to a soft tissue injury as compared to a lineman, correct?
For sure. That twitchy nature, especially Ty Johnson, he's just a twitchy guy. A lot of stopping and going, changing a direction. They do that at such a high speed with so much force that he is going to be at a higher risk of re-injury compared to an offensive lineman. But the Bills staff will still take them through a full return to sport and ensure that, to the best of their knowledge, that hamstring is ready to go before they put him back out onto a field. We do have the benefit of time with Connor and Ty Johnson. We're still 2 weeks out from game one. Both of those guys probably weren't going to play in the third preseason game anyways. So, how much are they missing, given that they're veteran guys? Time is on our side for them.
Keon Coleman, we've talked about him, and the update on him was, all right, he was actually seen without the boot yesterday and running. And granted, we can't report on anything other than that, but now that we know he's running, where do you believe Coleman might be in his recovery from the foot/toe injury, Charlie?
Yeah, I think he's another guy that we should see week one. He should be out there. In what capacity? I don't know. Whether that will also be a decision of, is he healthy enough to take all the reps, or does he still need to prove himself on the field after, 2 years of truly up and down after a first-round draft pick? So it'll be interesting to see tomorrow night whether he's out there with the guys getting some more reps in, or he's on the sideline, whether he's wearing a boot or not, and what that looks like come week one.
Yeah, a couple more for you outside of the Buffalo Bills. A couple big names here, right? We got word that Ashton Genty has a sprained ankle. And like other things, okay, we don't know to what degree. The Raiders being coy about the timeline. And I'm asking this, Charlie, because it is fantasy football season. I don't know if you play fantasy football, but my gosh, I would have loved to have Ashton Genty on my team, but I don't know if I'm taking him in round one. When you hear this news, does that scare you from or overdrafting an Ashton Genty here?
I do have 2 or 3 leagues I got to get prepared to draft into. But yeah, for sure, high ankle sprains in general do have a tendency to pop back up, and they can be very nagging, especially for a twitchy, shifty running back like Ashton Genty. He's not a big guy, he's not a bruiser, so he has to make guys miss in the hole, and that puts a lot of stress on the ankle. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds and they go forward with his return to sport.
Talk about a return to sport. Patrick Mahomes, mid-December last year, tore his ACL, tore his LCL. Charlie, what are your thoughts on his recovery? The idea that science has evolved here so much in the last few years to make a return like this even possible on a short timeline.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've seen it in the past with Adrian Peterson. He's the big guy that really kind of changed the scope of timelines when it comes to return to sport from an ACL. But we also have to remember that Pat Mahomes, these guys have unlimited resources when it comes to their recovery. So they can spend 7 days a week and they spend 8 hours a day rehabbing. So, where the average person rehabs an ACL, rehab isn't their job. For guys like Pat Mahomes, rehab is literally their full-time job that they spend all week doing. So that does accentuate a timeline. But what we're getting into more recently with the research in physical therapy and rehab, sports medicine with ACLs especially, is we throw timelines typically out the window nowadays, and it's all going to be based on objective data that says, hey, you're ready to go versus you're not ready to go. But there are research studies out there that say every month after 9 months that you wait for return to sport and ACL, the risk of re-injury decreases exponentially.
Charlie, the next one I just want to kind of bring up more. Well, it's an awful story. It's more a public service announcement or kind of an advisory here because we do have a lot of high school coaches, youth coaches that listen to the show here, certainly. What happened out at Arizona State, and for folks who haven't heard this story, first day that the hockey team could practice, and a player during an outdoor workout collapsed. He remains hospitalized, and Phoenix at the time was under a heat warning. For coaches at any level, Charlie, how important is this stuff? And we don't know for sure if this was heat stroke or not, but just in general, heat stroke, what are the warning signs, and how can something like this be prevented?
Yeah, for sure. It's so hard, especially with some of these teams that aren't at school over the summer. You don't know what they did in the off season, so you don't know what kind of shape they're in. And that goes for the high school coaches listening, right? You don't know. You can't know for sure what kind of shape that your players are in. And August is, the dog days of summer. It's typically the hottest couple of days, and you're out there in pads for the first time, or you're out there. Summer does not like the heat, apparently. But you're out there in conditions that you don't know. So being very careful, making sure guys are hydrated. Any signs of like slurred speech, guys stop sweating, they just look bad. It's better to be safe than sorry. We had a pretty, the Bills have gone through it in the last couple of years. I think there was reports a couple of years ago that we had a guy that they took to the hospital with a possible heat injury. Yeah, so we got to be careful in the heat. So yeah, it is a very difficult thing to do, and you don't want to mess with it. It's one of those things that very quickly can switch from, it's hot out, to life-threatening, as we saw with the Arizona State guy, and we've seen with Maryland in the past. It's a very dangerous situation to push too hard with some of those things.
Yeah, and Charlie, I know you're on dad duty here, so one quick last one, because this time of year, do you get flashbacks? Because it's a busy time for a lot of folks. How did you balance your schoolwork while playing Division I football? We can all learn from you, Bud, about time management there, I think.
It is funny because I always had a higher GPA in the fall in high school and college when I was in season than when I had too much time on my hands out of season.
It's interesting.
I do really well personally under pressure, and the nice part about being in a season, there's not really time for you to mess around with, video games or whatever the likes be. Whereas in the off season, you have a little bit more time on your hands, and you can have a little bit. It feels like you have a little bit of free time, and procrastination is my worst enemy. So yeah, you have so many resources at a place like Penn State that there's really no excuse to be able to keep up with your coursework. They'll get you a tutor. They have state-of-the-art study hall. I mean, even since I've left, they have a state-of-the-art dining hall for just the athletes. So, there's no excuse of, I got to cook dinner or I don't have time for this. It's all provided. So it is very nice to be a Division I athlete. There's a lot of resources there, but at the end of the day, you still have to put the work in, and it is a lot to balance. But looking back on it, man, I miss it. I wouldn't do anything to change my time at Penn State and having to balance all that stuff. And, we missed out on a few things, but I gained so much more from being able to be on the field and go through those experiences with my guys.
Well, Charlie, next time we talk, my gosh, we'll be days away from Penn State and Marshall and the rest of the full schedule in college football. Thank you for taking time today, and let's do this again next week, bud.
Absolutely. Sounds good. I can't wait for a little Penn State football and the Bills. We're getting close, man. It's an exciting time of year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely, Charlie. Thank you so much, bud. Appreciate it. Dr. Charlie Schumann.
Thanks, Gene. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too. Taking time driving home from the Strong. That's being a dad there. And if you're not familiar, Charlie played for Penn State during the time when Saquon Barkley was the running back and his college roommate was Connor McGovern. So that's where I don't want to be, violating any trust. If Charlie said up, no, I really, I'm not, I don't know, and I wouldn't tell you anyways. When it goes to Connor McGovern here, because we appreciate Charlie's insight on some of the other stuff. I feel like I have to back up. If you're like, wait a second, what's this heat stroke story that Gene's talking about? Well, so from the standpoint, this is at Arizona State. And you can't have practices in college athletics that are out of season. And this was the first day that players were back. And the first, we don't know if it's an official practice, but under NCAA rules, it's okay. You had Arizona State at 8:30 in the morning having a workout at the outdoor track and field complex there. The player who's been identified was actually in Rochester last October, playing for a different team. Matthew Mayich, who is a draft pick of the Blues, and following his time, you would assume that he'd be playing for the American, going through the system there with St. Louis. He was with Clarkson last year when RIT upset Clarkson during the Brick City game. This incident happened Thursday. As of today, Mayich is still hospitalized. There was a prayer service that was formed for some of the players and some of those in the hockey community last night. The school saying they're investigating right now. The average temperature in Phoenix last week was 92 degrees. So the first question is, okay, what was the time? I guess we could go look that up, but this has the appearance of something that might have been preventable. And you go back to Corey Stringer. That was the one that, and Dan DeLorean, you remember that. You're our Viking fan there. Like, that was horrible. We all knew the name Corey Stringer, and then wait, he died? How? And completely preventable. All the warning signs were there, and we all kind of learned from that at the time about Corey Stringer. You remember that?
Yeah, I don't know if back in the day, the football was far more, strict on, more practice, more workload. And I don't think that we were as aware of, the health risks as what we are now today, which is the dangers of it. And another example here.
Right. That I want to say that was circa 2001, somewhere around there. Yeah. So Corey Stringer was the one where, all right, we have to learn about this. But let me tell you this. Like, every program, high school, college, you have your official practices, but what's preventing the guys or the gals from getting together and working out together in the off season? And what are the safeguards there? So this is a horrible story, and I hope that we can report on something positive, because if there is one, well, all sports communities are tight. Lacrosse, football. Hockey is one of them. The hockey community is very, very tight, and people are asking questions. They're really, really, really worried about this player. Again, he hadn't even stepped on the ice technically for Arizona State. Arizona State being this shiny new program, it's been around for a few years, right? But going from Clarkson out to there, maybe he was getting a little bit of money, and you've already been drafted as a defenseman by the St. Louis Blues. Hey, your future's bright. Something like this shouldn't happen to a 21-year-old. So, yes, we should ask questions. And, yes, it's one of those things you kind of bring up. So, all right, what good can come of this? Well, you're bringing it up. Like, when we're talking about the Ed Oliver story, we took a call. I don't remember the caller's name, but she said, hey, about Meredith. Meredith, thank you. Meredith said, hey, about Ed Oliver. Let's all kind of learn from this. We don't know the details, but as a young parent, it's always eyes on. Like you have to think always head on a swivel sort of thing. And again, we don't know the details there, but what could we learn from that? And maybe we'll get to that point. I don't think we'll hear from Ed Oliver, by the way, tomorrow night. Maybe Ed Oliver's on the sideline. But I don't think they're going to be putting him on the scoreboard or anything like that. But I'd be curious to see how Bills fans will respond. Will we see signs out there? Will you see more 91 jerseys tomorrow night? We've got, don't mean to be, it's happy hour coming up here in the sports bar, so we'll get back at it. We'll go completely different direction with Tim's terrible take of the day. That'll be coming up next. My name is Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
everywhere in the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
Notice a rattle in your ducts or a rise in your heating and cooling bills? If you do, give Belknap a ring. With 0% financing, the cost of upgrading to a high-efficiency dual-fuel heating system is a breeze. Learn more at belknapheating.com. That's belknapheating.com. Go green, save energy and money with Belknap. Schedule a free estimate on your new installation. Give Belknap a ring at 716-688-1728. For more comfort and less ka-ching, give Belknap a ring.
Jeremy and Joe are back again.
WGR Rochester.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
Before we get to Tim's terrible take, welcome back to the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with you. Dan Lorian back after his sabbatical to the woods. And you at 585-866-4326. We'll get to more Bills news and notes here coming up in happy hour. I'm pretty proud of myself, Timmy. Let me just kind of say, all right, so this was yesterday morning and getting ready and, all right, coffee, food, time to take a shower. I pull off the handle on the shower.
That is not ideal, Gene.
That is not ideal. I'm like, what the heck? Now, our home is... I'll just say it's not brand spanking new. This is the time where you get to the 25-year, the 30-year mark that, some things might fall apart, right? So we do have a second shower in our home. All right, I'll go and use that one. And all right, but now I got to go home, right? And so I know last night I've got this project that might be a little bit beyond me. And I swear she's doing this as a coach, the executive producer. She's like, I'll just, I'll call Jackie up and then, Dave can come over. I'm like, hold on. All right. I appreciate it. And I don't know Dave from Adam, right? And actually, isn't there a card store? But
there is.
Yeah, that was, but honestly, I don't know this guy, Dave, and I don't even know your coworker, Jackie, right? But this seems like if I got stuck, but look. This is not toxic masculinity or anything like that, but there's some things that you should be able to do as a man, right? And one of them is, hey, I've got a home improvement project that's kind of staring at me. We're down a shower here, the better of the two showers. The other one, well, it's not really kind of designed for that. So what did I do last night, Tim?
Figured it out.
I figured it out. I got my man card, baby.
Proud of you.
There we go. Yes. So I'm saying this now, and then watch the next time. She'll be like, oh, do you want me to call Dave up?
Maybe we can have somebody else do that.
Maybe we could do that. It's now time. We are the award-winning show for reasons like this.
It's now time for Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day on WGR Rochester. WGR Rochester. It's Terrible Time Timmy.
I came in here with a take that I was going to share, but in a change of events, I've got something else for you.
Ow!
Wow.
Ow.
Whoa.
Ow! It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
We are fully consumed by the NFL and everything that they do. And earlier today, they announced some fine changes for repeat offenders and stuff I was going to talk about. But just now, the NFL has rescinded the Pro Bowl game. There is no longer a Pro Bowl.
What?
The Pro Bowl is over. You will be called a Pro Bowler. You are called a Pro Bowler, but there is no game. The All-Star game in the NFL is officially history. It's done. And to me, that's awesome because that game stunk. It was a waste of time. It was a facade of the sport, a shell of itself. The only cool thing that ever happened in that game was when Sean Taylor trucked Brian Mormon. That's the only cool thing that's ever happened in the Pro Bowl, and now it is kaput.
You're kidding me. The Pro Bowl is dead.
Over.
That's it. Well, like in recent years, it was the Pro Bowl games, right? Where it just becomes this like skills competition and, hey, can Kirk Cousins hit the moving target? And this isn't anything new. Like for years, you had players coming up with excuses. How could we get out of this thing? The Pro Bowl is dead.
They will now no longer name alternates, so you won't have Tyrod Taylor as a Pro Bowler or Joe Flacco as a Pro Bowler, as a backup quarterback. Shadur Sanders was a Pro Bowler last year, Gene.
Yeah, right. That should have been the time, like, okay.
So it's over. We no longer have to deal with the facade of the Pro Bowl. You will be just essentially a second All-Pro.
Yeah, the Pro Bowl shouldn't mean, like, really anything now. Can it just go away? Because people kind of use interchangeably All-Pro and Pro Bowl. Like, no. It's not the same. All pro means you are the best at your position. And right now, gosh, could the Bills use an extra all pro or two? Sure. Yeah. And maybe Deion Walker develops into an all pro. Maybe James Cook builds upon his season this year and he leads the league. There's many possibilities of players stepping up. But I didn't think that we would come to this day, mainly because, Tim, you think of that weekend between the championship games and the Super Bowl, and it's like, all right. And then watch the damn thing, whether it's in Vegas or Orlando or wherever it is.
The only All-Star game that I care about is the Major League Baseball All-Star game, and not even that is actually
it's
good.
not. It's a home run derby, and it's the time of year too, right? That's
But
part of it.
The build up from like the AFC and NFC title game, then you've got that week, and they just fill it, and that's fine. But we can fill it with something else. It does not have to be a flag football game with literal backup quarterbacks on the AFC team. Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders, both literal backup quarterbacks this year, were Pro Bowlers last year.
I don't remember the exact player, but it's not true for it's true for all these sports. The Seattle Kraken had a defenseman, and like it was one of those, hey, behind the scenes video, come on into the coaches to, hey, yeah, we just want to let you know, we named you to the All-Star team. And you see the look on his face like, oh, crap, I got to go do this? I had a vacation. Literally, he had a vacation plan with his girl in San Diego. Nope, sorry, you got to go to wherever the game was. So will other sports follow? Baseball will never follow suit. The All-Star game still brings in a number, and the home run derby is better than actual games itself. Will the NBA be the next sport that says, no, not for us?
I would sign up for that. I don't think that any of these games need to exist. And if the NFL is always a trendsetter. We always follow what the NFL does. So if they got rid of it, maybe the other sports will follow.
Yeah. Tim, well, thank you for that breaking news. I like that breaking news. The Pro Bowl is dead. Happy Hour is here. Your calls at 585-866-4326. We'll also get to some of your tweets or posts, whatever they call them on X now. At WGR Rochester is our handle. My name is Gene Battaglia here on The Sports Leader.
ROCAM WBEE HD2 Rochester and everywhere you go at WGR Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester. Sports Update.
Final preseason game for the Bills tomorrow night, and for the Steelers for that matter. Two teams in Orchard Park. We won't see Josh Allen on the field, but Allen says he is keeping sharp for week one.
Just, again, making sure mechanically that I'm where I need to be, physically where I need to be, if it's extra running, if it's extra weightlifting, whatever it is, to get myself in a good spot. But I think it's a much larger gap than what we're used to. It's a few extra days, so just trying to stay in it.
Red Wings score a win 6-3 today over Buffalo on the Major League scoreboard on this getaway Wednesday. Rays over the Tigers 3-0. That's the only final so far. Reds and Giants tied at 2. They're in the 5th. In the 6th, no score between the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. Phillies beating up on Seattle. They go to the 4th. Phillies up 6-0. Guardians trailing the Angels 3-0 in the 4th. Yankees and Astros tonight in the Bronx. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master show. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much hotter than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres, Bills, Americans, Red Wings and Nighthawks. For Rochester Sports Talk.
Happy Hour is here. Hour number 2 coming at you from the High Fall Studios in downtown Rochester where the sun is out. Thank you for making us part of your afternoon. 585-866-4326. As this time tomorrow, we will be joining the Buffalo pregame heading into Bills and Steelers from our friends, our colleagues in Buffalo. So tomorrow the show will only be 1 hour, which I had to tell Dan, hey, you're here 1 hour. Back on the show. The band is back together for the first time in this time slot, which is that's how ridiculously long we gave you a time off there, Dan. Who negotiated your deal here? How did you, I'm wondering, is he ever going to come back here? Dan is back from his – where in the Adirondacks did you go to, buddy?
Up around Tupper Lake.
Nice. So, what, 4
It's
hours?
4.5, 5 hours,
Okay.
depending on how many stops you make along the way, but it's beautiful.
So Dan came at me. I thought I had Dan.
You got ethered. You got eviscerated.
I got eviscerated. I was so happy that Dan liked one of my posts, and I'm thinking, Dan is full of it. He's a liar. I'm the one who actually turns my phone off on vacation, so you won't be able to reach me. Okay, then why do you like one of my posts? Oh, the vacation actually didn't start till Monday that week. So Dan showed us his data. And did they give you a break on that? They don't give you a break on that. You paid for a phone.
That's a full pay. That's
it's a full pay. Yeah, that's a full payment, buddy.
2 weeks unused.
Yeah, should have left us the phone. No, this isn't Dan. Yeah, I'm just using his phone today. Welcome on in, Gene Battaglin with you as we're trying to figure out who's going to be on this Bills team, and there might be one clue. And this is how rapidly things change in this league. Where I went through the exercise, and I'm like, Cedric Van Pran Granger, I don't know if the Bills keep him on here for another year because this doesn't seem like he's somebody that really kind of asserted himself in this camp. Now, you had an opportunity with Connor McGovern going down, and it wasn't like people were raving about the former center/guard from Georgia. But here's a clue that maybe McGovern won't be ready week 1. As the Bills today, they tried out centers, according to Ryan Talbot, and they signed one of them, we know officially, Sincere Haynesworth, releasing a wide receiver, Mac Delina. So keep an eye on that tomorrow night. Where do they play? If they start Van Pran Granger, that might lead me to think, okay, maybe he does make the team here after all. But that's a little concerning that Connor McGovern, and they're signing a center here. Hopefully I'm reading into this, but to me, not having the details on these injuries, whether that's Khalil Shakir, whether that's Ty Johnson, some of these guys have been held out. But another way to kind of look at it is, as long as they start practicing on Labor Day, September 7th, which in a way feels like around the corner, but football terms, you have more than a full week to, again, rest, recover, train, do all that sort of stuff. So tomorrow night we will see some starters, and I predict that the starting corner for this team is going to be Davison Igbinosun. I think he beat out Maxwell Harrison. I don't think anything tomorrow night is going to change my mind on that. Are there any actual starting jobs up for bid right now? I don't think so. Elena Getzer been reporting that Alec Anderson is your starting left guard on this team. I would believe, though, that the Bills really don't have their final 53 nailed down. And it might be as simple as the back end of the secondary, hearing Jim Leonhard talk candidly. And isn't that a breath of fresh air when you hear Jim Leonhard talk like, wow, for him to become a head coach in this league, he's just going to have to dumb it down. He's giving you honest takes, and he's saying, hey, I don't like the amount of time, the lack thereof, of what we've gotten out of the secondary so far. So are we going to see a lot of this? I don't think we'll see C.J. Gardner-Johnson or Cole Bishop tomorrow night. But what about Geno Stone? We had Matt Perino on yesterday, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard, talking about specifically some of those decisions in the secondary.
Right now, it feels like Geno Stone is probably the odd man out because he wasn't really somebody on the free agent market that was garnering a lot of attention or, a lot of teams clamoring to bring him in. He's somebody that I think Jim Leonhard likes a lot. You think back to what he was able to do in 2023, and, when you could add a guy that's had 6 interceptions in a season to your roster, it's something you get excited about, but he just hasn't looked like that player, and I would imagine you could probably get him back on the practice squad, and you're going to probably lean into some of your youth here. We already talked about the corners and Hancock, who has probably had one of the best summers of anybody in a Bills uniform. And then Damar Hamlin, who is just, everybody seems to want to write him off. And I'm probably guilty of it at times. And, you forget the level of reliability that he brings in that room. And, I think Jim Leonhard has come to really like him as well. So I think also getting Gardner-Johnson and having Bishop out there, I think there's eagerness to see what this looks like when everybody's healthy. And, everybody's talking about the Houston defense against the Bills offense, and rightfully so. That is a matchup that this team has struggled in. It's been a house of horror for Josh Allen. I get all that. What's the last memory we have of C.J. Stroud in a game that mattered? How are they going to deal with this defense? That offense is going to, face a defense on the road that's going to want to prove something in week 1. So I'm very eager to see what this defense looks like when it's as close to whole as possible. And, oh, by the way, maybe we won't see him whole as possible because Terrell Bernard's banged up again, although Joe Brady thinks that he'll probably be ready to go for the start of the season.
Yeah, well, Terrell Bernard, I think, will be okay. But going back to his stuff about Geno Stone, there's a lot in there, right? Talking about those injuries. And I do think Damar Hamlin has made this team. Back to Geno Stone, I'm going to kind of point out something here. Because when it comes to players, do you keep them or not, it's not a one-person decision. This isn't landing on Joe Brady's desk, right? Joe Brady's got to go to Brandon Beane. And the two of them talk this through. Because if the Bills want to make a move at the trade deadline, if they want to continue this success, well, you got to make decisions based around the salary cap. So I'm going to put both of our fine producers on the spot right now. Geno Stone, former Cincinnati Bengal, Baltimore Raven, and Geno Stone at one point in his career led the NFL in interceptions for a single year. Tim, what would you guess if the Bills moved on from Geno Stone would be his dead cap number?
$2 million.
$2 million. Okay. Dandalorian, next up. Geno Smith's dead cap number if the Buffalo Bills moved on from him.
I'll say 2.5.
The answer is $187,000.
Okay, so he's cut.
He's cut. That's right. That's exactly it. You don't have to. There's no science to this. Okay, hey, Geno, sorry. And it's like, as Matt said, you could always bring him back on the practice squad if he wants a job. He's 28, or he's 27 right now. So I would think that this wouldn't be it for him. But when you read it like that, and when you hear Jim Leonhard bringing up injuries and things that have been nagging him, well, I'm sorry, it's a cruel business. And if you're going through the exercise, Jalen Kilgore showed you something. He did. Damar Hamlin has had moments here, right? And he does mean a lot to the community. That would be really that would be national news if you cut. When Damar Hamlin's time in Buffalo ends, it won't be on ESPN. It'll be on every news channel. Like, oh, remember this story from Buffalo? Yeah, the Bills cut him today. 585-866-4326. Brad in Rochester joining us. Hey, Brad.
Hey, if anybody's going to be cut or traded, I mean, Hamlin could be traded, but the only team he's going to be traded to is probably the Steelers to send him home, which could happen if the Steelers needed a safety. Stone, I can see gone. I can see Dwayne Carter gone. I can see Van Granger gone. I can even see Frank Gore not making the roster, and I can see Johnson going to IR and Wheeler being one of the starting running backs, one of the 3 running backs. I also am wondering, with Brandon Cooks hanging out there and Ray Davis being possibly the punt returner and kick returner, do you bring in someone who's a little bit more of a veteran like Brandon Cooks and let Hartman go? Because Brandon Cooks wants to be in Buffalo. Hartman is a punt returner, but he's slight, and Cooks could still stretch the defense and be that veteran presence also. Does Sherfield make the roster? I'm not sure. I think right now they've cited a center only because they want to keep Cushenberry available to be guard or center if McGovern can't go that first week.
Yeah, Brad, you bring up a bunch of great points. Anybody that wants to jump in on this, 585-866-4326. Let me go with the one that you brought up, the question of Sherfield. Sherfield made this team. I believe that. This is a team that values the special teams. And Trent Sherfield, in your programs, playing the role this year of Tyrell Shavers will be Trent Sherfield. That's right. He had the role before Shavers took over, and Sherfield left by free agency. Sherfield can play that position, and he could be wide receiver 6. The Cooks idea, it's funny. When we talk about bringing back veterans, Tre'Davious White, hey, Shaq Thompson, hey, Brandon Cooks still wants to be part of this league. And he went on national radio. He's been saying, I would love to come back to Buffalo. And the phone hasn't rung yet. I would keep the phone on. Don't be Dandelion in the woods, Brandon Cooks. Like, keep the phone on because maybe at some point a team will find itself a little thin. But you hope that, yes, it was a play that will stick in our minds forever, the loss to Denver, right? Is Brandon Cooks that much of a difference maker? You need other guys to kind of step up. DJ Moore is that guy right now that is going to be getting all the targets going downfield. You hope Skylar Bell kind of develops into that, but he's been banged up. I don't think you can get Skylar Bell through waivers, and that's why I have the Bills keeping Skylar Bell on the team. But remember, 53, but you only dress 47, right? Well, he's going to be one of those game day inactives for Buffalo. Ty Johnson cannot start the year on IR. That's kind of one of those nuanced things. It's dumb, right? You get to week 1, and you can go on IR and get called back. If you go on IR right now, you're done for the year. So there's no stashing players, or otherwise you would have,
right?
You would have. This was the Washington football team under Joe Gibbs, like everybody on IR. Yep. All the quarterbacks, and we will develop you, and we'll talk to you next year. I mean, that would be kind of a neat way. PUP is a different thing, but these guys have been practicing, and it's hard for me to imagine that that right now Ty Johnson would be physically unable to perform. It sounds like to me it's one of those soft tissue injuries that they're just making sure that everything is going to be okay. Shakir is the one that I think, if all these question marks, week 1, boy, oh boy. Imagine if the Bills didn't have Shakir from the get-go. That's okay. Are you? Who would be in the slot then? Are you hoping that Keon Coleman would be ready by that point? And Keon Coleman was running at the stadium yesterday without a boot, but that doesn't mean he's He's on track to be ready for week 1. He could be ready for week 1. What about Josh Palmer? We didn't really see Josh Palmer all that much last year. We saw him in that first game making plays against the Ravens, and then that was kind of it. Yeah, there are all of a sudden some concerns. And to your point, Brad, maybe Cooks, again, we'll see him back in Buffalo at some point. 585-866-4326. I am just stunned by what Tim had told us earlier. The Pro Bowl is dead. It's beautiful. I feel free, Tim.
Yeah, me too.
I feel free. Like being addicted to the phone, I'm addicted to football, and hey, I'm enjoying all these NFL playoffs, and the Super Bowl's coming up. Oh, I'm going to watch this.
But first, have this. A crappy Pro Bowl game. Flag football with backup quarterbacks.
Now, you realize there's a whole generation that doesn't even know that the Pro Bowl actually came after the Super Bowl. You want to talk about the biggest Debbie Downer of all time, like the Super Bowl. And now next week, hey, we're out here and the season's over, but we're just gonna kind of do
a paid vacation in Hawaii was the only cool thing about the Pro Bowl back then.
Yeah.
Then they moved it. They took it out of Hawaii.
Yeah.
Became a shell of itself about 25 years ago.
That was it. We had some writer on the show years ago. It was the first year of the show. And his idea was to make the NFL like baseball, where you would shut down the sport and have the Pro Bowl game and everything. And
around Thanksgiving?
It's the only time, Tim, where we got done with the interview, and I might disagree with your opinion, but I don't ever say a guest. That's a stupid opinion. It was the one time I'm like, I feel like I have to acknowledge as the audience, that is stupid. November, we're going to just take off a week and just watch the Pro Bowl together?
I'm all set on that idea.
Oh, that's a stupid idea.
That's a worse idea than having a Pro Bowl.
I'm full of dumb ideas, but that one, no. I mean, don't even speak that into existence. But what's pleasantly surprising about this is, hey, whether it's Orlando or Vegas or wherever the game may be, you're going to draw tourists. It's kind of like spring training baseball, right? Okay, it's there, and all right, you can't get Super Bowl tickets. Why don't we go do this? My nephew, this was when they were in Orlando like 3-4 years ago, actually went to the thing, Tim. Said it was a horrible experience.
I don't doubt it.
You think the players are accessible? No, they're not.
If somebody
I don't fault them. I mean, nothing says, hey, you got to go and sign autographs and take selfies and do all that. But if you're going down to one of these games with the hopes of, hey, I'm hoping to meet my favorite player, it's never a good game plan if that's the primary objective.
If somebody invited me to the Pro Bowl, I think I'm respectfully declining. Like, I'm finding something else to do. I hardly watch it, and I definitely wouldn't want to watch it in person.
Yeah, so now can we get rid of the NBA All-Star game?
Please.
And in the NHL, like, do the what do they call it? The Four Nations?
4 Nations, yeah.
Yeah, do that.
That was way cooler than
That was way cooler.
the
Yeah,
3-on-3.
like, do that.
It's all a gimmick, and all the gimmicks kind of stink. The fantasy draft for the NBA All-Star game.
Well, it also was this, Tim, where, again, back in my day, hey, you read things and you heard things. It was the one time where, hey, you have heard about these star players playing out in wherever the town may be. Let's take a look right now at Chuck Muncy or Peyton Manning or whoever it is. That was, Archie Manning. Like, that was always it. Like, okay, these are teams that players aren't on television, but you at least get to now see them in the Pro Bowl setting. Yeah, it's done. Like, we will get to a time where, like, what are we doing this for? And maybe Major League Baseball kind of realizes this at some point, and we'll just do a home run derby. Baseball's so rooted in tradition, it's hard for me to imagine that going away, but maybe the Players Association digs in and says, hey, get rid of the All-Star game, just give us the bonus.
Give me a 2-day home run derby. Make it a 16-player thing and a whole festival rather than the event itself is awesome. I love the home run derby. It's my favorite part of all the All-Star festivities in all 4 sports. But give me more of that and less actual All-Star game.
We've got, it's funny, like the buses are ready to reinvest. And this is how quickly things change. You saw this, Tim. Okay, we'll get to that in a second here, where they might be pumping their money into And this changes the narrative very quickly of one team we thought was going to go in a different direction in Major League Baseball. You're welcome to join us at 585-866-4326. It's the Sports Bar here on the Sports Leader.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
One more preseason game to go. That is tomorrow night, the Bills and the Steelers. And you will not see Josh Allen on the field as quarterback. You will see him calling plays.
I'd like to think that I'm a pretty balanced play caller, but I feel like as a quarterback, you kind of know the plays that are the plays that you want to get to. I feel like those would come off the call sheet very early. So, explosive play caller.
Rochester Red Wings scored 4 runs in the second. They rode that to a 6-3 win over Buffalo at home today. On the Major League scoreboard, the Phillies right now having no problems in Seattle. They're up 6-0 in the 5th. We have the Padres up on the Pirates 2-0 in the 6th. Giants leading the Reds 4-2 in the 6th. Cubs trailing in Arizona 1-0 in the 7th. The one final from today, the Rays winning in Detroit 3-0. Yankees tonight hosting Houston. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, WGR Rochester.
Where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. This is WGR Rochester.
As welcome back. If you missed the show today, we had Dr. Charlie Schumann, former roommate of Connor McGovern, talking today about some of those Bills injuries. You just download the Odyssey app, and you can go back and listen. And it's different having the Dandalorian actually in studio with us. You work here.
Yes, I do.
But you never you always would run across the hall just to work in silence and don't bug me.
Yeah,
so.
I focus better.
Okay. So it's good that you're all refreshed, you're dialed in.
I feel great, you know.
You're having fun in here today.
Yeah,
yes, I am, definitely.
You'll hate us within a day, by the way. Like, oh, he's asking me to do this again.
I'm leaving now, guys.
Yeah. I don't want to. There's been a lot of shows that have played the audio of Jose Feliciano and Kwanzaa Jones, the new owners of the Padres, and I think it's kind of cheap. Like they're excited. We zeroed in on the one quote from Feliciano yesterday, talking about they're going to spend within their means. Like, oh, come on. No, you're a Padre fan. You don't want to hear that. Like that's something you would teach your teenager, right? Live within your means. I don't want my favorite sports team. I want them to be drunk and buying free agents and doing everything to compete to win. You're not buying this to turn a profit. You're giving back to your community or fan base. This is interesting, though, that they, meaning Feliciano and Jones, the new owner of the Padres, are apparently selling a stake. Now, it's not big. It's only like around 5%. But this is going to Bus Sports Capital. Bus Sports Capital, who they probably have a lot of cash lying around, seeing that I don't know if the deal is actually closed yet or not, but at last word they were cashing out there. That Genie Bus wasn't going to be able to prevent this, that, all right, the buses are completely done with the Lakers, whether Genie Bus likes it or not. Okay, number one, people in San Diego hate L.A. Like, we went out there a few years ago. My son made the mistake of wearing a Dodger cap, and he heard it. Like, no, don't do that. Like, I don't even know around here, like, we would give people crap for wearing a Patriot hat because, you know what, we're, okay, great. Down there, it's also it's like a cultural thing. And for them, the Chargers to go up north, my goodness. Well, this is the Lakers. And again, there's no NBA team in San Diego, or there hasn't been in decades, not since I was a kid. But for the Lakers ownership group, the former Laker ownership group, to go and buy a piece of the Padres, that's going to be interesting. And maybe the Padres will continue to spend if they've got that sort of cash flow. 585-866-4326. One thing that did get approved today is that there are new owners. $9.612 billion. 49ers limited partner Vinod Khosla is the new owner of the Seattle Seahawks. Money, as you say, Tim, is not real. It is not real. And to get that dollar amount, you want to talk about the timing. What do you learn in the market? Buy low, sell high. The Paul Allen estate sold high, but this wasn't just by their design. It was actually just kind of dumb luck the way this kind of timed out. The state of Washington actually dictates after a certain time, hey, you got to sell this. You got to do something. You got to gift it. You got to do something. And so the estate actually put it up, and that's why Jody Allen not involved anymore. And now you have a new owner. and a new toy for anything. Was debating. We did have one little detail come out on Jed York last night. Yeah, even on our show, Tim. Now, like our show, we're a little more colorful on our show, but even here, this is where I would draw the line. Like for Jed York, let's just say, like, all right, so he wanted a certain favor for $140, but there was an a la carte option. Let's just put it that way. For an additional $20, you'll get. Are you kidding? What?
160.
160.
Anything is yours.
No, I can't. Tim, I'm being my own FCC on this one. I'm not going to tell you what it was, right? But and I haven't seen anything yet. The owners today, the story's leaking out. Okay, they've got a new disciplinary system where, all right, if you hip tackle or you target, horse collar, 3 of those violations, 1 game suspension. It's like a point system almost, but not being points. It's like, okay, these are the things we consider serious. Horse collar, hip drop, hip tackle, targeting. No, they don't call it targeting in the NFL. All right, if you commit 3 of them, 1 game suspension. Okay, that's fair. I like the horse collar really isn't all that much a thing anymore. The hip drop tackle, I challenge officials to call in real time because it's one of those where, all right, it happens. It's difficult sometimes to see in real time. Everybody wants to point to the Mark Andrews, hey, this is what we want to get rid of, and for sure, but a lot of times it's just not intentional, and a lot of times it's not called. So does this mean that the NFL will look back at tape and say that is what we want to get out of the game, the hip drop, and that's going to count as a point? I don't know. Like if that's going to be something that we're going to have kind of retroactive penalties, meaning, all right, we didn't call this in the game. They do it all the time with fines, so now are we going to have that? Yeah, probably. We'll have something like that. So we have these stories coming out of the little meeting today from the NFL owners in Atlanta, but nothing yet on Jed York. Oh, Tim, I know exactly what's going to happen. Ready? We don't want Jed York in the news cycle here 5 o'clock hour, right? We don't want to talk about him getting a suspension and getting fined. Why? Because maybe somebody hadn't heard about it. Him, an actual NFL owner, getting caught in a prostitution sting outside of Youngstown, Ohio, in a trailer park. That sounds like a Mad Lib, right? It's like
it is a Mad Lib.
It is a Mad Lib. And if you filled it in, like, look at how these get in trouble for saying this, like the Jed Bush. Maybe it's the name Jed. Jed is like the, hey, Jed, what are you doing? Oh, Jed, you got caught. Well, I don't think the NFL wants this out. They want us talking about the Pro Bowl going away. They want in Seattle, hey, here's your new owner. There's going to be probably some other thing. They probably don't want this in the drive time in San Francisco either. So this is not going to leak tonight at 8 o'clock. One of the media goombas will put this out tonight at 11 o'clock or whatever it is. Oh, yeah, Jed York, here's his punishment. And
$400,000 and do not appear in public for a little bit. That's my guess.
I'm going to say it's $1 million. I say he gets fined 7 figures, and it's an 8-game suspension. Like we'll see in November. Which
that's pretty drastic.
It is, but in a league that really half your fan base is women, you don't want to be doing this sort of thing.
Sure, but a lot of the DV stuff only gets like 3 games.
You're talking players. Owners should be held to a much higher standard. Like if you had something like that with an owner, get him out of here. Like you had, it took a long time legally to get rid of Daniel Snyder, and finally they did. Also, too, you get that somebody just brought up, what happened to Daniel Snyder? He's been quiet. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he took his billions and he's living in Europe or wherever he is right now. King jerk. 585, last call here. 585. See, you get it, Sports Bar, last call. The imagery of the show, Tim. 585-866-4326. Last call is for you. We've got an abbreviated show tomorrow. We're back for the full show on Friday. So give us a ring right now. Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester.
You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Oh, I love the internet. It didn't take too long for us to figure this out. Welcome back to the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with you. Last call is for you if you'd like to join us at 585-866-4326. As Greg wrote in earlier, just thanking us, welcoming Dan back to the show after his 2.5 weeks off, and thanking same take he had. Like, it's great that ESPN is getting rid of the bottom line in college football. Yeah, I don't need that distraction of breaking news every 5 minutes for something I knew about 3 hours ago. We were talking about the dirtiest, slimiest figure in sports for many, many years. Daniel Snyder, former owner of the Commanders, right? Just terrible human behavior. And it's disgusting that this guy he's a billionaire for all the things he did wrong. And maybe at some point something legally will stick to him, and we'll all be for that, right? But he probably has enough money to pay people off or whatever it is. And one of those situations, when they were trying to track him down, this was when he was just kind of going off the grid, not going to owners' meetings, knowing that, all right, I'm in trouble. I'm just going to kind of lay low. Look, Washington football fan, they take their team very seriously. And there was actually an X account just called the Lady S, and it monitored the movements of Daniel Snyder, telling the world where the Lady S was. And you know what? That probably drove Daniel Snyder crazy, because the one thing he wants on that super yacht, well, is privacy. It's not, it's not here. It's around the globe, right? So it's hard to identify, right, when you're coming in. Well, maybe it's not hard to identify. Tim, I found the website Vessel Finder.
Yeah.
And Vessel Finder, now we don't know if Daniel Snyder is on the super yacht right now, but the Lady S, still very much active, and the Lady S, since the beginning of July, has actually been kind of just camped out there in the Western Mediterranean in Antibes, France. I think this website is great. I'm not going to subscribe for more just to get more details, because I know who owns it. And he's not flying this, by the way. It's not under a U.S. flag, the Cayman Islands. And I know there's some tax break for that, of course.
I'm reading some of the features of this yacht. It has an IMAX theater in it, Gene.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, it's like the Pagula super yacht. It would just make my stomach turn that when the Pagulas decided, you know what, we're building a yacht. I hope they didn't get their inspiration from this guy. Like the one guy that actually, displayed it in front of his NFL owners and the public, for that matter, was Shad Khan. Shad Khan, years ago, this was the Chiefs and Eagles. The Super Bowl was in New Orleans, if you remember. And there's Shad Khan, the super yacht pulling into the port of New Orleans. It became like a tourist attraction. Like, oh, that's where the Jaguars owner is staying. And he's a multi-billionaire. He's got holdings over in Europe and here. And again,
we'll have to dive into this. I've fallen into a rabbit hole that I'm not going to be able to recover from. There is an NFL owners list of yachts, and this is insane.
No, it honestly, it's like you are looked down. You're Mark Davis. You don't have a yacht. You don't have the wealth, right? It's you're not
his top 5-2. That's the name of it.
Top 5-2. What is that in honor of? I wonder.
I'm curious.
I have top 5-2. I don't know. Like Pagula named the one company JHG. It was the initials of his kids. Okay, that top 5-2. No idea. Like Belichick has. It's not a super yacht, but he's got his little boat. 5 rings. Driving around Nantucket. Speaking of Belichick, we talked to our guy PJ Glasser tomorrow. Tomorrow on the show, 4:30-ish, as, yes, it is week 0, and will North Carolina just absolutely get obliterated in this game by TCU? It's possible. This game over in Ireland to begin the college football season. Paul Feinbaum today on ESPN I don't know if it's an actual prediction or if it's a wish that Bill Belichick like last year you kind of sort of got a pass because it was year one. That's not going to cut it this year. Even 500 won't cut it. Meaningless bowl game. Who cares? You're Bill Belichick. You're North Carolina. North Carolina can win in basketball, and why can't you win in football? You're the greatest head coach of all time, supposedly. Yeah, I'm going to be tuning in Saturday just to see if Belichick just gets smashed there. And we'll talk to PJ Glasser about that on the show tomorrow. Again, just the 1 hour show tomorrow because we'll be joining the Buffalo pregame show where Sal and everybody will be out at the stadium. So we'll just kind of hand the baton off to them at that point. 585-866-4326. I'd like to take this opportunity in the final moment just to say I was right. Nobody cares that I'm right. But Tim brought up in his take yesterday, well, you're going to have a lot of college players going back to the NFL. No, do you notice what has happened here in the last 24 hours? No. SEC, big penalties. Big Ten, big penalties. The ACC is going to follow. This is a good thing. I don't need players getting cut this week and then being Rodney Dangerfield and going back to school here.
I think that this might actually open up an avenue. You mentioned it yesterday. Bowling Green, relevant. Somewhere like that. The MAC has to, if you want to be relevant, you bring in pros.
Well, only if you have somebody that's going to bankroll this. It's hard for me to see player who gets cut, but I love the game. I do. And you and I know.
I know people, exactly where that's from.
know, like, you know where I would do anything to play football again. We all have that guy in our life, right? Years ago. Dan's nodding his head. Yeah, it's
when
like
you put those pads on that one last time.
Part of you dies. You can never play football again. Hey, would you like to go back to school? Yes. And play football? You're 48 years old. I don't care. I don't know why I'm giving this person like a movie trailer voice.
I love it.
So, yeah, we all know a guy like that would do that. Again, I think the bigger point here is this wasn't the NCAA saying don't do this. This was the Big Ten saying we're not doing this. This was Greg Sankey saying not only we're not doing this, we are going to fine the hell out of you and we will suspend you and we will come with sanctions you wouldn't even believe. That's who's running college football right now. Where's the NCAA? Yeah, they're not doing anything. The NCAA, you know what? Go away. Just handle Division 2 and 3 and maybe some, non-revenue sports because all you're doing right now is kind of getting in the way. We knew this was heading for a long time. I just couldn't imagine like one story like an NFL player successfully going back to LSU would crystallize this for everybody else. Like, wait a second, that's over the top. NCAA, what do you have to say about this? Oh. Okay, this is dumb. Miss any of today's show. Dan DeLorean, who is here beside us in the studio today, back from his long vacation. It's got to be tough coming back day number one. Dan's got everything up for you in fine order wherever you get your podcasts. It includes the Odyssey app. Tomorrow on the show, PJ Glasser will join us about week 0. For Tim Schneider, Dan Drumley, my name is Gene Battaglia. BetMGM tonight, coming your way next year on the Sports Leader, WGR Rochester. Have yourself a good night.